There is a massive difference between being a business owner and owning a business. Based on the conversations I've had with a lot of you guys watching these videos and my clients, most people are business owners. Obviously, this means they don't work for somebody else, but one of the most common themes I see is that they're trading their time for money, or they're connecting their time with the value that they're giving their clients. On the other side, you have somebody who owns a business. And when you own a business, your time is not attached to it, meaning whether you log in or don't log in, whether you show up, whether you're traveling the world, whatever else it is, that business is running and growing without you. I've literally made millions of dollars in the past few years owning a business where I could totally be gone for weeks at a time while I'm traveling, and my entire company could be running without me. So most people are business owners, but everybody wants to own a business. So how do we make that transition? Well, that's what I'm going to cover in this video here. And then I'm going to give you one really specific example at the end of a mistake that I was making being a business owner instead of actually owning a business. So stay tuned for that. First thing I'm going to say is I'm going to keep this video very short. Obviously, I have a program that has over 24 hours of content that goes more in depth on this kind of stuff. But for the sake of this video and just to make sure you walk away with something valuable, I'm literally only going to talk about two things that you need to do in order to transition from a business owner to owning a business. The second thing I want to say is that if you don't have a business right now, or you're an employee, that's totally okay. We live in a society today where it's like people are just made fun of, or it seemed like it's almost an insult to be considered an employee, where in reality, if you actually do own a business, something we'll talk about here in a little bit, your employees are your life. They're the most important asset that you have inside of your company. You should treat them as such. And so a lot of the times the employees inside of my company, honest to God, have a better life or a lifestyle than I do, because they don't have to deal with all of the you know what of being a business owner. Some of the people I actually look up to and respect most in this world are employees of other entrepreneurs. So there's nothing wrong with it, but if you're looking to go from an employee to a business owner, or from a business owner to actually owning a business, pay attention to this video. So how do we actually own a business, right? How do we make it that if we don't log into our business for that day, we could still make 10, 20, 30, 50, even $100,000 while being totally removed from it? I'm talking about literally spending the day out with your friends or family, enjoying life, only to come home, open up your computer, and instead of a list of to-dos and thousands of things to see, all you see is just a report of the $50,000 that you made from this day, the sales, and whatever else was required of your team. So the first thing that you must do in order to actually own a business you're removed from is to separate your value from your time. A lot of times when I'm talking to my clients and we're talking about what their service or product is and how much they should charge for it, I hear them say to me, yeah, well, Ravi, I can't charge that amount of money because it only takes me 1 or 2 hours a week in order to do it, and that's not fair. And while I respect that they're trying to be fair, the issue that they're having, and the issue that a lot of you that are watching this might be having, is that you're not separating your value from your time. People don't pay you based on your time, right? If you want to be a business owner, and let's say you want to be a chef or something like that, and you want to be a business owner, not own a business, then you could really look at okay, I'm getting paid $15 an hour because I'm working this many hours, and this is how much I get paid a year, whatever else that is. But the issue with that is you're an employee, you're a business owner. Someone who owns a business understands that their value that they're giving their people, which is what people are paying for, is separated from how much time it takes them to do it. So for example, let's say if I was going to work with you and I said, I could make you $1 million in the next 12 months, and it's going to cost you, let's just say $5,000. Well, you could go, well, how much time is it going to take you to do this? Like, how much work do you have to do in order to do this? It's going to be 5 hours that you have to do it, 10 hours, 50 hours. A lot of the times you're going to be like, cool, like, all right, I give you $5,000. You help me make $1 million. Like, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me how much time it takes you to actually do it, because all I care about is that $1 million, which is the value that we're talking about here. So some really specific examples of how I see business owners connecting their value and their time together instead of separating them are charging on an hourly rate, or doing projects based on an hourly rate versus a fixed rate. Let's say you're creating a website for somebody and you typically charge $300 an hour, and you're billing this person every hour that you're building their website. Well, that's one really great way way to keep your value and your time tied together. But what if instead, when you were creating websites, you could just charge someone a $5,000 flat fee for that website, but it really only took you 1 to 2 hours to create because maybe you hire somebody else to do it, or maybe you found a more efficient way to create that website. The business owner doesn't really care one way or the other. Obviously, you have to make sure your price is not exorbitantly high, but if they pay you $5,000 and they're expecting to get back $10, $15, $20, $30, $50,000 in value, then it doesn't matter to them how much time it took you to give them that value. Another really great example of separating your value from your time is actually through digital products or coaching programs. So I know a lot of people watching this channel, even a lot of my clients that come in are coaches themselves, and they want to remove themselves from their business, but the majority of the time they are doing one-on-one coaching. And you can only do so much one-on-one coaching at scale, right? Because you only have 24 hours in a day. And most coaches that come to me are literally like stressed out, burnt out, making maybe let's say $8,000 to $10,000 a month, but they are working 8 to 10 hours every single day just on one-on-one coaching calls, and they're not actually able to grow their business. Instead, you can separate your value from your time and let's say create a digital course that covers like 90% of what you say on all of these coaching calls, where you only have to film it one time. So all of the value is inside that course. And then the clients can watch it on their own time. And thus they're able to get the value separated from your time. I've helped thousands of companies do exactly that. And another great example is if you have, let's say, some kind of service-based business like an advertising agency. Well, almost every advertising agency has some kind of onboarding process. And during that onboarding process, you're really having to explain to the client like, hey, this is what you do. This is how you handle this new system. This is how you handle this new service. And the account manager is explaining this manually to the client. So the time and the value are, coincided like this. But what if instead, just like I talked about a second ago, you created an onboarding course, right? I used to have one at my advertising agency called Prospect Social called Realtor University, where I would give it to a real estate agent, and it had literally 12 hours of content on how to handle online leads, example scripts to use, example call recordings, so that they could then make better use of our service. They would be more likely to renew, and it wasn't tied to my time. I could shoot that video one time and it would help our clients for months and months to come. The final example that I'll give you on separating your value from your time, and this is one that most people don't think about, is in dealing with employees. So we're at the point inside of my company, we're at over 30 employees, and we're hiring employees literally every single month. And I have to literally stop myself sometimes from just hiring somebody and trying to hop on a bunch of one-on-one calls and get them onboarded and ramped up really quickly, because that is exhausting. And I'm trying to transfer the value that I have over to my new employee, except for I'm doing it with my time intertwined with it. So instead, what I'd recommend you do, what I've done and what I help a lot of my clients do, is creating like some kind of standard operating procedures or some kind of operating handbook. I have some for some departments in my company that are literally 45 pages long in a Google document, and it goes over everything that you're typically going to cover in a one-on-one call, right? What your values of your company are, what's the mission statement, what's the typical technology you use, how to communicate, how to ask questions, what are the specific KPIs. All of that stuff can be covered in a Google document. So instead, when you onboard an employee and you need to transfer over the value to them, so all of a sudden this employee is valuable to you and your clients and your company, you give them this document. You say, hey, don't talk to me for 7 days, consume all of that stuff, watch it 5 times, and then we'll have your onboarding call in 7 days. How much valuable do you think that employee is going to be, and how much valuable do you think your time's going to be when you actually get with them in 7 days? You don't have to explain to them, hey, get your work email here. This is what our values. They've already seen all of that stuff. So that's another really good example. If you're actually a business that's growing maybe, and you're still a business owner, because every time you onboard an employee, you have to spend dozens of hours getting them trained up only for them to eventually leave. Instead, if you create an operating handbook, it really doesn't matter to you how quickly you hire them, or in case you have to let them go, because you know that you can follow the same ramp up process and actually predict how long it takes somebody to get to KPI, meaning how long does it take to get an employee from 0 to actually performing where you want them to perform. Great. So the second concept you need to keep in mind in order to actually own a business, a cash producing asset, is to separate your money from your time. Now, as I'll explain to you in a second, this is something that even I struggle with today. Let's say that we separate our time from our value, like we talked about in the last step. You could start making some really decent money, 10, 20, 30, 50, $80,000 every single month, but you're still connected in one way or another with your money and your time. And the best way that I can explain this to you is a quote that I've heard, which is, Poor people trade their time for their money, and rich people trade their money for their time. Just as a caveat here before anybody gets upset, I'm not talking about poor like a bank account. I'm talking about poor as in an actual mindset, passing over opportunities repeatedly, not that they're actually they have a low bank account. So when I started my first company, Prospect Social, I took it to over $100,000 a month in cash collected with just myself and one virtual assistant as a team member. I did step one, like I talked about in this video, and I removed a lot of my value from my time, and I was having advertising campaigns that were being set up in 10 minutes and were being managed by only 5 minutes a week, that people were paying me thousands of dollars a month for. But at the same time, I was spending a lot of time doing a lot of other things inside the business because I didn't want to spend any money to get that time back. It actually came to a point inside my business where I literally was about to shut down the doors. I was so exhausted because I was working like 15 to 18 hours a day and I was making good money, but I was literally going right back to trading my time for money, and I knew it wasn't scalable. So luckily, instead of doing that, I actually ended up asking for help and started hiring some employees. And sure, maybe the first 1, 2, 3 months that I hired the employee, they weren't making me any extra money. So I'm paying this person $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month and not seeing an immediate return. But over time, as they started getting up to KPI and performing for me, I was able to start having them do things inside the business like account management or handling operations or bookkeeping or payroll or customer service that I used to do beforehand, which meant that I could literally slowly start removing myself more and more from the company and just keep on paying to put new people where I was doing all that stuff before. So sure, I went from making $100,000 a month with like 99% profit margins, but I was working 16 to 18 hours a day, to making around $1 million a month where I have 50% profit margins, I'm working a lot less, and my team is running most of the business for me. The way that you have to think of it as a business owner is that if you don't have a janitor inside of your company, you are the janitor. So if you don't have somebody that's generating leads for you, then you're the lead generator. If you don't have a salesperson, you're the salesperson. If you don't have an account manager, you're the account manager, where a lot of these positions, such as the lead generator, you could pay someone a few $100s a month or even just a few $1,000s a month, and they could generate you tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. But most people don't make that trade because they're afraid to give up their money in the first place. But remember, smart business owners, people who actually own a business, they trade their money for more time. So I can pay someone $3,000 a month, and in turn, they're going to make me $15,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month. And on top of that, the free time that I now have, I can then spend on higher level tasks that I can now spend a few hours a month and make an extra few $100,000 a month. I'm not exaggerating these numbers, by the way, guys. These are real numbers that I have inside my business and my clients have inside of their businesses as well. Hey, if you guys are enjoying this video really quickly and you want to be entered into a giveaway to get the recordings from a mastermind I hosted a few months ago in Miami, where people paid anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to be there, so over 18 hours of content, all you have to do is like this video, smash the subscribe button, and comment down below your thoughts on the video or what you want to see me talk about next, and you'll be entered in the giveaway. I'll announce it in the next video, and if you did it last video, make sure you check the comments down below to see if you won. So now let's talk about a really specific example where I didn't follow my own advice and I was a business owner and I didn't own a business. So obviously I shoot a lot of content, right? If you guys watch me on YouTube, maybe on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever else it is, I spend a good bit of my time creating content every single week. And that's a sort of my job as a CEO of our company. I'm pretty removed from all of the day-to-day operations. So instead I want to spend my time creating content. But the issue was that I was back to intertwining my money and my time, because I was just like, okay, all cool. I'll just create the content. I'll just edit it. I'll just have it posted. You know, it only takes me a little bit of time. And then I paid a pretty famous YouTuber just literally yesterday for an hour of their time, and he runs his YouTube like a business. And he asked me, he said, you know, with all of the success that you have and all these systems and all these employees, why have you not thought of running your content like a business, right? Running your YouTube like a business. And it just literally hit me like a pile of bricks. And that's why sometimes it's really great to pay someone who's ahead of you in some areas so you can get some outside perspective. I was like, why am I not running this like a business? I'm back to literally, my content by itself is like a business in its own, and I'm treating it like I'm a solo entrepreneur. The business owns me at this point, right? And so instead what I saw is what he had, which was a production manager, video editors, creative assistants, graphic designers, distributors of the content, brand collaborators. He had like, You know, I think he said he was spending $30,000 or $40,000 a month just on his content team, not including all the other business that he had as well. And it literally hit me, and I was like, why am I not doing that? So this is me letting you guys all know right here that first of all, we're looking for a production manager. If you know one, you can go to scalingwithsystems.com/careers and you can apply there or send it to somebody. But also, you should see my content game ramping up over the next few weeks and few months as I start to hire and implement some of these people. If you are a business owner or soon to be business owner and you want some additional training on exactly how I scale 2 companies to multi-7 figures in under 2 years, you can click the link in the description down below and I'll show you how we generate over $500,000 in cash and around $1 million in revenue every single month like clockwork at 50% margins. It's really simple. I cover it in 3 steps. It's not some long drawn out video where I try to pitch you at the end. It's all it is just pure value, and you can click the link in the description down below to get access to that now. And be sure to watch the additional 2 videos that are on your screen here on some of the softwares that we use to run our company so I can be fully removed from it. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Okay, check it out.